Welcome to our special day of event. Spring day, my birthday, our
Yay, happy
gen2gen
birthday.
meeting
Happy
day.
birthday.
So in many levels, it's special day, but every day is a special. God's gift, special gift for all of us that we can begin again. So, to the very special topic and special guest. So, let us begin our time with the words of prayer as we always do. And then I want to turn to Terry. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you for the gift of this day and special time for bringing us together today. As we learn and listen, grant us wisdom, clarity, and discernment. And bless our friend Katie, our special speaker, as she shares with us and guide our time together. May this time be filled with our gratitude and full of sharing together. So in Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well,
Amen.
before I turn to Terry for our guest introduction, just quick housekeeping matter. So if you are not speaking, please keep yourself muted, or I will mute you for your convenience so that we can hear Katie clearly. And also, maybe after her presentation, we will have some Q&A time. So um, spare the time for the chat for questions, and we'll make time for our discussion at the end of our session together. So now I want to turn to Terry. Please introduce our speaker to us.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Happy springtime. And Pastor Zhang just said to mute yourself, but would everybody please unmute yourself because we're going to sing happy birthday to Pastor Zhang. So everybody unmute themselves. And Carol Cameron and some of you wonderful choir people, would you start us off, please?
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear song. Happy birthday to you.
We need to.
Well, your song is recorded here.
Oh, pain.
How old are you?
Thanks, Carol and everybody. So if you would kindly mute yourselves again, that would be wonderful so we don't hear background conversations. So today it's my honor to introduce our guest presenter, Katie Povejsil.
Povejsil.
Povejsil. I'm sorry, I'm not phonetically talented. Katie retired from her tech career in Silicon Valley, and she's currently the executive director for Art Changes Us. Katie earned her degree in engineering, but ultimately she found a calling for marketing and business development for Apple and other tech companies. While she's not a computer scientist, Katie keenly watched the development of AI over the decades and is astonished by its rapid mainstream adoption in the past 3 years. She and her husband, Bill Skull, are adventure seekers and photographers. When Katie was in high school, she taught herself to shoot photos, develop them, and print images, and is just an amazing photographer. In 2020, she and Bill and Carol DeMonte launched Art Changes Us, and it's an arts-oriented youth development program working with several hundred underserved teens in our Bay Area. Katie has been at LAUMC since 2000, and she's served on numerous committees and led classes and programs and so forth. Katie and Bill have a son, Tyler Skull, who is a Starfire alumnus, and he also is a project manager at a biotech and pharmacology company in the Bay Area. In addition to all the above, Katie's other interests and hobbies include gardening and cooking and reading and hiking. She just does it all. And today she's going to educate us. So we're all excited to have her. And she's going to talk about AI and you, what to know and what to avoid. So without further ado, we welcome you, Katie, and we thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I am happy to be here, and I am very excited to be talking to you today about this topic. I know it's something that everybody is interested in. 2 years ago, when I did my first talk about AI, it was really pretty new to everybody, and people didn't know very much. It was kind of a murky area. A lot has happened in the last 2 years. Um, in the words of Dr. Frankenstein, it's alive, and it is both exciting and pretty concerning in a lot of ways. So I'm gonna start my slides here. Here we go.
Go back and start over.
I don't know.
So, artificial intelligence may be the most powerful tool that humans have ever created, but it is like the Roman goddess or god Janus. Janus has two faces, promise and peril. Janus looks forward and Janus looks backward.
Yeah, I just got into it. It's just this new.
Say, we have somebody who needs to click audio off. Someone's over speaking you, Katie.
Okay, thank you. And so, like Janus, it's two-faced, and both of them are important, and we will consider both sides of this coin. So let's see. There we go. So I'm going to talk about what to know about AI and what to be concerned about and how to protect yourself in this new age. I mean, this is the world that we live in. We can't stop it. It's out there. It is in our lives, and it's best to embrace the changes because you can't fight them, and protect yourself as best you can, and take advantage of the value of this incredible technology. So during this talk, you can put questions in the chat. John, if you can kind of monitor that, and if there's something that's really burning that comes up, please interrupt me and I will address that particular question. Otherwise, I'll try to break periodically and take questions. Otherwise, we can hold questions till the end and have a discussion at the end. I'll leave time for that. Okay, so what is AI? And so it's software. It's written by human beings. It has rules, it has instructions, and the difference with AI is it's trained on very, very large data sets, like the entire internet, entire libraries, data that's not accessible publicly. So it's got very, very huge data sets. That's called a large language model. And it detects patterns and says, okay, based on these patterns, it is predictive of what comes next. And so in that way, it is a tool that can invent new tools. It's John and I were talking before we started here, and he said, well, is it like Wikipedia? I said, well, it's kind of like Wikipedia, except it can write its own new articles, and it can create new material from what it already has and make predictions and infer things from what that knowledge base actually has. So it's used so the big things that it's used for is this predictive ability, its generative ability, its ability to make new things, to write its own articles and create its own images, and come up with new ideas. And it's used for decision support because it's like having a super duper smart intern working for you that never gets tired and never runs out of ideas and is very confident in their recommendations. So, but it often feels like magic, but it's not. It's more than the kind of programming that we've been used to that is logical, if then, if this, then that, otherwise this. It really is a whole different animal. It's also not actual human intelligence. There's a lot of human intelligence that AI cannot do. It's not infallible. It makes mistakes, and you have to watch for that. It's not intuitive. It's not reading your mind, even though it sometimes feels like it is. It's not emotional, even though the chatbots are written to seem like they have human feelings and empathy. They are not human. They're not a replacement for human beings, even though some people do have relationships with chatbots rather than humans. Not exactly healthy. And it is not autonomous. It is a computer program that does what the programmers tell it to do. And I was talking again to Zhang before this all started, and one of the big issues right now is guardrails. Within these AI programs, there are limits. There are certain things that are not okay. And writing those limits into the AIs that are in general use or in commercial use is extremely important. And there are those that would like to have AIs without guardrails, but I think it's very, very dangerous. Okay, so we are going to talk about 4 different areas where AI is being used today. These are probably the areas that affect you most. I'm sure there are others, but these are really the biggies. So the first area is medicine and healthcare, and this is one where I don't know what it was, a year ago, year and a half ago, I go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Do you mind if I record this session with an AI?" This has probably happened to all of you or most of you, where the doctor has said, "Do you mind if I use an AI in this session?" And I said, "No, go right ahead." And although some people might say, "No, I'm not comfortable with that." But what it does is it really reduces the amount of this administrative work that a doctor has to do. Most doctors, if you are a doctor or you know a doctor or have friends that have been doctors, you know that many of them retired because the paperwork and the notes and the charting and all that had gotten to be so burdensome that it took more time than the actual doctoring. So the promise of AI is that now much of that administrative work is happening auto-magically, and they don't have to write up all their notes from every clinical visit that they have. And that's a huge deal. Now, as I said, AI is not infallible, so they still have to check it and make sure it's accurate and complete. So, and what AI enables is better diagnostics, better treatment plans. And a friend of ours is involved in the pharmaceutical biotech business, and he's working on a project where they're doing drug discovery, and they've been using AI models to try out different molecular structures before they ever make these things in the lab, and they can see how they react and discard many, many rabbit trails before they actually start making this stuff in the labs. So faster drug discovery is a big thing in AI. This is not to mention all the stuff like robotic surgery and telehealth and all these other things. the world of medicine and healthcare has really been a super early adopter of AI and has really embraced it enthusiastically. Okay. Another area that AI is transforming, and this has been true of technology, is in the area of education. And the holy grail here is having highly personalized tutors that can give a student or even an adult who wants to learn a new skill very personalized instruction. And these kinds of things are available now, and they work pretty darn well. If you need translation, and if you've tried the automated translation, that's all driven by AI, and it's gotten really good. I had to translate a legal document into Spanish. It was a permission slip, a permission thing for our Art Changes Us students to be able to go on a field trip. And the parents need to sign it because these are minors that we were working with. And it's a legal document, permission slip. And I needed to translate it into Spanish, and I used AI to do that. And I was astonished at how good the translation was. And I had a couple of the kids read it, and they said, yeah, this is right. And I was really amazed. So, so you can, and I'm a very curious person. I like to learn about new things. And this has been one of the greatest things for me personally in using AI is learning about stuff that I don't know about. And I work with a lot of different companies, and I don't necessarily understand their businesses or their industries, but this allows me to get up to speed very, very quickly on whatever the company is involved with so that I can do my coaching with them. Another area that is being transformed by AI is the area of general productivity and creativity. Anybody that is involved in writing material for a living is going to have to embrace the writing, editing, and proofreading tools available in AI. And it used to be that we relied on humans to do that writing. Now, humans that are writers really need to know how to rely on or how to use AI selectively and do their work better and faster. Likewise, with creating graphics, you may know graphic designers. Maybe you have a grandchild that's a graphic designer. Their work is going to change tremendously in how they do their work. I'm going to show you an example of how I, a non-graphic designer, did some graphic design that turned out pretty darn well using the AI tools that are available. So AI is really changing what knowledge workers do. People that have jobs where they generate text or images or data or performing tasks, their jobs are really going to change. And if they don't embrace AI, they are going to find themselves kind of on the outside. One of the other big things is task automation. So creating basically little bots that'll go off and do repetitive tasks for you. Say you have a report that's due every month. You have to get data from this source and that source and this source, put it together, make charts, and put it into a presentation. You can now write an AI bot to do that for you. Data analysis, a chat bot. What I've done is I've had spreadsheets that I upload into the chatbot, and I say, turn this into it. Might be a list of names and addresses and phone numbers and emails, but it's kind of messed up, and it's just a text list. It will turn that into a cleaned up spreadsheet that is highly usable. And I've been very impressed by the data analysis capabilities of these bots. All right. And finally, the fourth area that is really transforming our lives is the area of security and privacy. AI is everywhere. There are bad guys everywhere. There are people trying to protect you. There are companies that are trying to protect you. Our government is trying to protect you. So it is an arms race in terms of the threats and the protections that are available. There have been fraudsters and spammers and bad guys trying to take your money for as long as there's been money. Technology has made that easier. AI has made it easier than ever. But luckily, the banks and the financial institutions, you've probably gotten notifications about fraud detection. They say, "Is this you? Please approve this charge." Maybe you've had your credit card shut down inconveniently because some kind of charge that you may or may not have made has triggered their fraud detection. I was booking some lodging for a vacation. We're going to Europe later this spring, and I was booking an Airbnb, and so I was trying to send a payment to a French company. Fraud detection kicked in, blocked the payment, and I had to go back and forth a few times saying, yes, this is legitimate. This really is me. I really do want to make this payment. Yes, I trust this company. And so I appreciate that sort of vigilance, and that's what it's going to take to protect us all. Spam filters and screening, a lot of the spam that is coming at you, you never see it because of the filters. Some of that stuff gets through. One thing that got through to me recently, this was very interesting. I'm going through my email, sort of taking care of stuff, kind of tick, 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 trying to get things out of my inbox. And there's an email from a company called Crystal Logistics. It says, attached is your invoice. Please take care of this as soon as possible. And I was like, Crystal Logistics? What in the heck? I didn't, but I was trying to get stuff done and clear up my to-dos, and I almost clicked on the link. And thank goodness, I took a breath. I was like, wait a second. This is not right. And so I went to Google. I searched for Crystal Logistics, and sure enough, it's like known spammer, known fraud kind of thing. Deleted it and moved on with my life. So if something seems out of the ordinary, take a breath. Don't click on any links. Don't call any phone numbers. Don't click on any attachments. Go to Google, look it up, and verify whether it is fraudulent. And if it is, just delete it and move on with your life. So yes, there's a lot of challenges on the privacy and security area. I suggest you use strong passwords. A password manager is very helpful, and just you have to pay attention and mostly pause, take a breath, don't click that link, don't open that attachment, and don't call that phone number, and you will, in most cases, be just fine. So now we're going to talk about chatbots. And some of you have probably used a chatbot by now. Maybe you haven't. If you have never seen what ChatGPT looks like, this is what it looks like. It's a very plain and simple interface. You basically have a little text box here where you can type in any question. For example, maybe you say, what's the meaning of life? And you'll have to do this yourself to find out the answer. So this is what it looks like. And whenever you want to talk about something new, you say, start a new chat. I have a long list of chats. I can search my chat. Oh, what was that thing that I chatted about that was on the topic of, say, the rapture? And I can search my chats and find that. One of the things about ChatGPT is it will do images as well. So this tool, Dolly, this will generate images based on a prompt, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So, chatbots. This is something you can do. All of these have free versions. All of them look pretty much like what I just showed you. I think ChatGPT is the best all around. It's with a free account, you get a fair amount of searches or queries. I pay for it, so I don't know exactly what the limit is. But if you start really using it heavily, you will hit those limits. But it really is the best all around, good reasoning. It does have sometimes it makes mistakes. I'm going to talk about that. And you do have to check things before you really rely on the information or hang your hat on it. Gemini is from Google. It's very well integrated with Google. For example, if you're typing an email and it offers to help you out, that's Gemini just sort of coming in there and saying, hey, would you like me to polish up this email for you? That started appearing, I don't know, several months ago. And I thought, why does it keep wanting to translate my email into Polish? And then I finally realized it was offering to polish my email, not translate it into Polish. So that was kind of amusing. So, and you may have heard of Perplexity. Perplexity is my backup. This is where I go to check ChatGPT's answers. Perplexity doesn't make stuff up. They're very accurate. They'll give you citations. They say, here's where I got this information. The citations are not made up. They're for real. Whereas ChatGPT will sometimes even make up citations, which is like very creative of it. And if you say, this citation does not exist, ChatGPT will go, oh, aren't you clever? You're so smart. That's a good call. And it compliments you and flatters you. But it's making stuff up. So you do have to beware. Claude is from Anthropic. Claude I have not used. I think using 3 chatbots is just enough for my tiny brain to manage. Claude is the chatbot that is in the news these days. The Department of Defense wanted to use Anthropic's tools, but they wanted to use them without the guardrails. And the guardrails are limits that are built into how these chatbots operate so that, for example, you can't have it generate a pornographic novel for you. It won't do that. Or pictures of children, sexualized pictures of children. It won't do that. It has guardrails that limit that sort of behavior. And the Department of Defense wanted those sorts of limits to be removed. Anthropic refused, and they got booted out of the federal procurement process. And so, there are these kinds of issues that are, ethical issues and political issues and important issues that are happening in our world today. Copilot, if you work in the Office world, Microsoft Office, Copilot is the AI that's built into that. So let's see. There are other chatbots. Honestly, I'd steer clear. There are other new chatbots coming. I read about new ones fairly frequently that, some new startup has a better way, has a new way. my recommendation is that you stick with the tried and true, the ones I recommended on the previous slide. You've probably heard of DeepSeek. It's from China. I steer clear of it. There's also Grok. That's from Elon Musk, integrated with Twitter. It has all the intelligence that comes from Twitter, which, from my perspective, that's an interesting place to get intelligence. And it's moving towards being able to generate adult content, which I also think is not a great idea. I'm sure it's probably a very good business idea, but I don't think it's a great idea. So I steer way clear of that one. And then Meta also has their own AIs built into Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And there, the more personal information that you share, the more you become a target of their advertising. And as a general rule, I pretty much avoid all social media just because I find the ads extremely irritating because they are so incredibly well targeted. I'd buy all kinds of junk that I don't need or want if I stayed on social media very much. So I would recommend that you proceed with caution or avoid these chatbots for the moment. So what do I use a chatbot for? I use it for so many things. This is when I first started using it, it was like Super Google. It was really good searching. But then you start to realize that this is more than Super Google. It really can consolidate information and connect the dots and make recommendations or really synthesize large amounts of information. Like when I was planning a trip previously, I'd do hours and hours of research and reading and finding sources and all that stuff. A chatbot can really, really streamline that and present you with a consolidated list of things that you should do, things to avoid, tourist traps, alternatives to overcrowded and overpriced destinations. And you can have a conversation about it with the chatbot saying, I like this sort of thing, but not this sort of thing. Oh, okay, here's what we would recommend. So I use it for many, many, many things. And I have found it kind of indispensable. So with all that, having said all that, let me back up just a little bit here. Are there any questions in the chat, John, that I should address?
Oh, well, Judith Prismello has to leave, but she said that, Katie, since you presented ChatGPT last time, she really enjoying ChatGPT for now, daily use. Also, Nancy recommended a book she just finished, Empire of AI by Karen Hao, Hao, published in May 2025. It follows the creation and evolution of OpenAI and its competitors. So, Empire of AI is a book recommendation. I think that is it for now.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for that recommendation, Karen. I will check it out.
Nancy, I'm sorry, Nancy.
Nancy.
Katie, I had one question. Is this a bad time?
No, go ahead, Les.
Okay, I've heard that sometimes in interaction with chat programs, they can read your language and try to affirm what you're saying. So instead of giving you a critical response, they're saying, "Way to go, Les," or "Congratulations," or that type of thing. And that's something to watch out for. Any comment?
Well, I think again the people that create these chatbots give them a personality and give them a way of interacting with you as a user that has a certain what I find is they're a little flattering and fawning. They flatter you. Oh, that's such a good question, or that's such an interesting insight, or oh, that's really good that you made that connection. So it can be, I don't know if I'm answering. Am I answering your question, Les?
Yeah, no, that's I think it's just beware.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think just beware of that. And,
yeah,
they try to make it feel very warm and fuzzy and human. And you just have to keep reminding yourself, this is not a person. I'm not trying to impress
that's
this
a good
AI.
cautionary note. Thank you.
Yeah. All
One
right.
question from me, Katie.
Sure.
You shared a lot of options of AI uh, features like ChatGPT or Copilot and other things. So, but some people said that, oh, PBS, I only trust PBS, not other news channel things. So, for example, but I mean, trustworthy or something most trusted source. It does mean that ChatGPT is better than Claude or Claude is better than Copilot. And how do we measure those ChatGPT options as a trustworthy level things?
Well, that is an excellent question, John. Um, so what I have found is that ChatGPT is pretty reliable.
Hmm.
And as long as you're not using it for mission critical kinds of things that are and that you can check what ChatGPT comes up with. If it somehow is not sitting right with you, if you think, huh, that's kind of weird, um, I check it with Perplexity because I think Perplexity is more accurate. I've
Mm.
gotten very used to using ChatGPT, but who knows? You talk to me in a year, I might say, oh, yeah, I've totally switched over to using Perplexity because I find it more accurate. So
Mm.
I think each of us just has to make our own choices based
Mm.
on the style of the chatbot because
Mm. I see.
they're all slightly different and they will give you different answers. It's interesting to ask the same question of ChatGPT and of Perplexity and see what the difference is.
Like a Methodist church or a Presbyterian church
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
things.
They've got different programming, different guardrails, different goals, really. So
Okay.
anyway,
Good
yes,
to know. Thank you so
it,
much.
it it's worth experimenting with. All right, now I'm going to talk about the scary stuff. Um, I asked ChatGPT to draw me a picture of the frightening aspects of AI. It came up with this picture, which I think is truly a terrifying looking picture. So I won't make you look at it for very long, but I thought that was remarkable. Um, okay, so one of the things that is happening is scamming. AI makes scamming so much easier. And here's an example that this is truly happening. Luckily, it has not happened to me. It's not happened to anybody I know, but you get a phone call from your grandchild. They say, I have been in an accident. I need you to send me money immediately. And you are worried about their safety. Maybe they're saying they're trapped in a foreign country, or they've lost their wallet, or they've lost their phone. And you kind of freak out. Your adrenaline goes to 11, and you want to do anything you can do to help your loved one. And so you react. Um, Turns out the scammers have taken a sample of your grandchild's voice from their social media and have cloned their voice, and they can make a very realistic sounding um, new creation from just a very small amount of your grandchild's voice, and then call you on the phone and have you send money to the scammers. So, how do you protect yourself? I'm going to talk to you about that. I don't know if any of you have ever had this happen or know anybody that has happened to, but apparently it's becoming more common. And this is what's called a deep fake. So, here are the biggie. Here are the big things that you have to watch out for. Um, It's these voice and video scams. They can do this with video too, by the way, not just voice. Um, You have to worry about misinformation that's generated by AI. This is actual, real fake news. Privacy and data exploitation, we've talked about that a bit. Over trusting AI, it creates very convincing sounding answers. And this is what Les was referring to. It sounds so authoritative. And financial scams. Financial scams have been around as long as there's been money. There are bad guys out there. They are now armed with these powerful tools and supercharged scams trying to take people's money. All right. So the grandparent scam, what do you do? How do you avoid this? Hang up if this happens to you. Call back the number. Maybe your granddaughter says she lost her phone. Well, call her phone. She might just answer. The other thing is to create a family safe word. We've done this with our son, Tyler, and if we get a call from someone who says they're Tyler and it sounds like Tyler, we'll say, what is our family word? And he has agreed with us on a word or a memorable phrase. You could use something like blue turkey or other memorable phrase. And if the caller cannot provide the secret word, then you hang up and ignore the whole interaction. Never send money or gift cards based on a phone request alone, and always pause before acting. What they're trying to do is make you think that you have to take action right this second, right this minute, and they're manipulating your emotions and getting you all worked up. Pause, take a breath, and think, how can I check this out through other channels? And generally, you can figure out that it's a scam. But these sorts of situations are very upsetting. It's good that if you have somebody else that you can call, that you can say, hey, talk me down off this ledge. Here's what just happened. What should I do? So watch out for these. And like I said, the best defense is taking a pause and never responding without checking it out first. So misinformation, it's all over the place. Fake news articles, false medical advice, recommendations, all kinds of stuff. It sounds authoritative, even if it's wrong. Check with other sources. Go back to Google and Google it. See if major news stories or news sources are carrying a particular story. Be really cautious about things that just don't sound right. This has always been true. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And do not click on anything that says, click here, subscribe now, do this, download that, and pause before you take any action. Sort of related is over trusting AI. The information, if you make a query into a chatbot, sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it makes things up, sometimes it oversimplifies complex issues. If you ask it a political question, it will sort of create an answer that maybe doesn't. They try not to take sides, so it may be. It may not give you the answer that you're really looking for. Use AI for ideas, explorations, research, but anything involving money or legal decisions or your health, verify that before you take any action on that whatever the chatbot is telling you. And again, always pause before acting on information. Financial scams, we've talked about that. How to protect yourself, just never click on anything. Don't download anything. One of the scams that happened to my father was the tech support scam. If this has happened to any of you, I am so sorry, and it sounds absolutely terrifying. But you will get a big pop-up on your screen that says, your computer has been infected. You must call this number immediately or you will lose everything. And sometimes your computer will even make loud sounds or you'll hear voices saying, you must call this number now and to save your computer, save your bank accounts, your critical information. That is really terrifying. It happened to my dad, and it was really awful. So again, it's very difficult, but don't react and don't take the bait. Turn off the machine, force quit whatever you're doing. If that happens to you, force quit, turn off your machine and reboot and just never click, never call, never download, and pause before you take any action. So, bottom line is to pause, don't click the links, and trust but verify. So, AI is making life more private and more secure. It can act faster than we can, sees patterns that are very widespread, and it's always working in the background. And the banks and the credit card companies are using it to protect their interests and to protect yours. Your role is to stay aware of the risks and never click on things. All right, so now I'm going to show you a few examples. Let's see how much time we have here. Okay, yeah, I'll go through these quickly and then we can take questions. So the first example is I was asked to generate an image for the women's retreat as kind of a logo for that particular retreat. I was happy to do it. I was thinking about inspiration. I got inspired during Sunday service when the two people that were promoting the women's retreat walked up to the front of the church with umbrellas and announced that the theme of the retreat is singing in the rain. And so I thought, okay. So what I did was, and now, can you see my screen now? This is ChatGPT.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to show you really quickly. I asked ChatGPT to generate a silhouette graphic of two women dancing in the rain with umbrellas. And I got this, and I was like, whoa, definitely not the look I'm going for. So then I said, okay, make the women older and more mature. Well, this is definitely not the look I was going for either. So I said, dress them in casual sportswear. All right, no and no. And then I thought, well, maybe children instead, maybe two female children. I was like, oh, okay, now we're, now we may be getting somewhere. And then I said, redo it with very simple lines and silhouettes. I felt like this was much too complicated, too busy of a design. And then we got this. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then I said, okay, but I want the girls having fun dancing in the rain. And I got this. I was like, all right, now we're talking here. And we did a few more iterations. There was this, and then there was this, and then there was this. I was like, ooh, that's a lot of raindrops. Looks like an oil spill. And then this even more oil spill, more drops. I was like, okay, get rid of those. And then we finally got here. And this was pretty close. And this is when I took it into another tool called Canva. And I got rid of some of these oil drops. I added flowers. And in the end, I ended up with Uh, oh, and I colored the umbrella, and I ended up with this design. So that's how I used ChatGPT to help me come up with this design. And as I've said, I'm not a graphic designer, but I thought this turned out pretty darn well.
Hmm.
All right. Another thing I used it for. I watched the Super Bowl. You probably watched the Super Bowl. I was confused by Bad Bunny's um, halftime show. I know who Bad Bunny is. I know he's from Puerto Rico. I know he speaks Spanish. I know he performs in Spanish. But there was a lot of symbolism and a lot of guest appearances of stars and a lot of messages. There were a tremendous amount of cultural messages in his presentation. So I had ChatGPT explain it to me, and I won't go through that. Whoops, uh, that whole that whole thing. But in the end, the message was really about hope and pride in Puerto Rico and in the resilience of the Puerto Rican people in spite of the island having been devastated, destroyed really by the Hurricane Maria a few years ago, and the rebuilding being a very long and arduous process. Then we find ourselves in a war with Iran, and I said, and there are some people that say, well, they started it 47 years ago. And it's like, well, really? I think this started a while before that. So I went back and asked what was the state of Palestine in 1910, and it was part of the Ottoman Empire, and it gives me sort of the whole history of what has happened since before World War I, and how Palestine and Iran and Iraq and Syria have all ended up being countries that they are. Another thing I did is after using a chatbot for a while, it gets to know you pretty well. And I mean, and this is one of it's maybe sort of creeps you out a little bit, but it's building a profile of you, and it knows what you are interested in, what makes it really kind of what makes you tick. And so I've been using a chatbot long enough. I said, based on my profile, the profile that you have built of me, what would you recommend that I read next? And it came up with these books. And I have to say, I thought this was a pretty good um, uh, set of recommendations. I've read about half of these books, and I'm going to read the other half of them. And I thought that was great because I I'm part of a book club, and we sometimes struggle to find, or I sometimes struggle to find a selection that I think will appeal to the group. And so this has been very, very helpful as a tool to help me find recommended books to read. And then I think this is my final example, is Bible study stuff. When you find something that's troubling, uh, and I asked about the biblical basis of the rapture, and it explained to me that it's not really in the Bible, and that this was a concept that was come up with about 150 years ago. And I asked it to illustrate how uh, Christian churches that believe in the rapture think of it. And this is what it came up with, which is a really rather terrifying image. So I won't make you look at that. But it was a very interesting unpacking of the whole history of the development of the idea of the rapture. So, bottom line, AI has a lot of things in the plus column and a lot of things in the minus column. It's a real Pandora's box that we have opened as humanity. I don't know where it's going. I am equal parts optimistic and pessimistic about the future. Um, and we shall see. All I can say is stay curious and stay aware. And don't click on those links. All right, questions.
Wow. Thank you so much, Katie. That's a lot of wonderful information, great information, and good discussion as well. So let me back to gallery mode so that people can raise some questions or conversation here. Yep. Unmute yourself and feel free to raise your questions or comment. Yes, Jane.
Well, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I took so many notes because it's quite an issue for my age group to be talking about now. Because
Yep.
there have been
Yeah.
some people, especially when you get into a familiar phone call from a family member that needs help. And
You've actually,
don't stop and think, they emotionally want to go right towards it.
right.
They're getting better. But so I wanted to ask a question though. What is a password manager?
Oh,
A password manager is it's a tool. If you're a Google user, you can use the built-in Google Password Manager.
Okay.
If you are a Apple user, you can use Apple's built-in password manager. There are other password managers. There's one called I believe it's called One Passport, One Password, and it's really great.
Okay.
So, and the Google Password Manager, it will suggest strong, basically gibberish passwords that cannot be guessed. And on your financial accounts, particularly, I suggest those long, gibberishy passwords.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
you're welcome. They were stunned, speechless. Anything you
Yes.
I
want?
have
Carol,
a suggestion
Carol.
to what I said. I got a call from a grandson, and it wasn't an AI voice, so I didn't recognize it at all. And I said, "Who is this?" And he said, "This is your grandson." I said, "I only have granddaughters," and they hung right up.
Oh,
Oh,
good for
wow.
you.
that's great.
Good catch.
So Katie, could you talk a little bit about the ecological aspects of AI and
Uh,
the energy that it's using and stuff like that?
That is a very good question, Nancy, and that is a side of it that I know that it uses a lot of energy, and that basically our energy systems are probably going to be overwhelmed by the demands of AI. This is very energy intensive kinds of computing. Um, I know they're wanting to build AI centers in space that will operate off of solar power.
I have you in the middle of something. Want to lose it? No, not at all.
Oh.
I was listening to
So-
a presentation.
So
I gotta turn off my phone. I gotta turn off this. I thought I'd left. I meant to leave.
Oh.
there. Oh, wow, I was able to mute them. Okay. So I don't have a very good answer for you. I think that would be a good query for ChatGPT to really weigh the pros and cons of the environmental aspects. But I know that it's an environmental concern, and that it really does use a lot of energy.
In the chat, or not in the chat, but in the text box stuff, I put a name of a book called Empire of AI, and that has some information about where they're putting AI, the centers, the data centers, and the energy they're using in especially very low income countries where they need business there, but they're kind of taking advantage of it. So it's a good book. I recommend it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, all these technologies, they have um, these downsides, these flip sides of the coin that are, none of this is free. Um, Anybody else? Any stories, any anecdotes of your own use of AI that you want to share? Something that surprised you?
I have one. About 2 years ago, a close friend of mine used Chat GBT, whatever that is that I'm getting to know. And she brought the card. It was a birthday card for me.
Uh-huh.
And she put into it uh, characteristics about me. And then it developed this birthday card, and it was really right on.
Yeah, yeah, I've done that. It's very fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can write a nice tribute poem to your friend or your loved one
Yeah.
by putting in a few characteristics and saying, write this in the style of a Shakespearean sonnet.
Yeah.
Write it Hallmark style, or write it in, whatever. Uh,
Yeah. It was good.
yep,
Miriam? Yes.
Miriam.
My daughter gave me Storyworth, and I'm writing, answering these questions and writing the stories. And the first time it said, "Do you want proofreading?" And I said yes, because I thought, well, I guess I should do that. Well, they were making changes, and I decided from then on I was not going to do it because I wanted it to be my writing. What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
yeah, I think more power to you, Miriam. Um,
Okay.
and I recently had the privilege of um, writing a recommendation for one of the students that has been in Art Changes Us for a scholarship program. And I wrote the recommendation, and um, AI said, would you like some comments on it? And luckily, it did not have many comments. There were a few fix the typos kind of thing, but I did not want it to change my language or wording. I really wanted it to focus on, I wanted it to be mine. And so I decline that kind of editing. I think I'm a pretty good writer, and I know you're a really great writer, Miriam.
Well,
So,
that's what concerns me, that people are going to stop expressing their own feelings and think, oh, it's better if I let them do it. And I think it's
yeah,
important that we each express ourselves, even if it's not perfect.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And AI art, it's fine, but it's not the same as human art.
Mhm.
Uh, so now,
Here's another follow-up question from Miriam in terms of ownership or creativity. I watched a 60 minutes kind of uh, uh, video clip, and they talked about sculpting, like out of marble thing. They kind of carving all the beautiful pieces using their MacBook software and the machine, kind of drilling and carving out those things. And then there are some pros and cons, or my son and I talked about this, and my younger son Joshua, 12 years old, he really denies this is not the authentic creation because it used machine and MacBook software. But on the other hand, it can be another genre, or it can be another creative work,
yeah.
not about humankind carving things. What do you think, Katie, about the ownership or creativity
Well,
perspective?
I think you're right that it's a different genre. Just
Mm.
like um, 3D printing
Hmm.
is when something is printed 3D, you can tell. It has not been crafted by hand, and it's a different if it's a different genre, and you judge it on its own terms rather than comparing it with other stuff or as a replacement. What happens with technologies is that they add to rather than replace in many cases. And particularly with new media technologies, it tends to be additive rather than replacing it. So, I think, we're just in for a lot of new types of art.
Katie, we want to thank you so much for such a great presentation. We all learned lots and lots, and it'll be fun to explore and try to figure out things and have you come back again and again and again to try to teach us everything.
Well, I hope it's been useful. I hope it's been entertaining. Um, I'd be curious, show of hands, how many people have used a chatbot? What's that? About a third of you. So are any of you that have not, are you inspired to try it? Okay. Well, let me know how it goes. And see, yeah, I'll be very curious to hear how you think it goes and what you find. Um, it's really safe as long as you don't put in any of your personal financial, identifying information. It's very safe, so you can feel comfortable asking it questions like, "What is the meaning of life?" and "What book should I read?" and "Where should I go if I want to go on a trip to Italy off the beaten path?" Those kinds of questions are, and it's fun. It's actually very fun.
Katie, I really like your closing comment, stay curious and awareness. I think that's something that we all need to be open to new technology. Also, we need to be cautious as well.
Yes.
Thanks so much for your presentation. And thank you everyone for coming to my birthday party. I felt that's really, really wonderful.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, John.
For being part of this time together. May what you have learned today from Katie guide you with wisdom and care in your daily life. Go in peace. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.